Sprecherin des Middle East Freedom Forum Berlins, Hezbollah in Germany. Ich darf als allererstes unsere Gäste aus Israel begrüßen. Ein herzliches Welcome vom Botschafter Prosor, unser Team Yannick Cohen und Daniel Cohen. Does anybody not understand German? So okay, then I start in English. We had some events in the past lectures that some people did disturb our events, and we want to make sure that this is not happening. If you have some questions or some remarks, there is a Q&A at the end of the session. Please do ask your questions then, and do not disturb within the lectures. If anybody is disturbing, we had this incident before, there will be the police, unfortunately, and we'll be suing everybody. I'm sorry I have to do these remarks. This is a free university with free speech, free science, and free discussions, and we want to keep that upright, that we have a good and open democratic discussion. So thank you for all your contributions that you're doing and the questions that you're going to ask. The issue today is Hezbollah, and especially what they are doing on European and on German soil, and I'm very, very proud to have Mr. Ambassador Prosor here. I met him, it was 8 years ago in Washington, D.C., and I had a chat with him, and he has an incredible good German, so this was my first idea, to have him for a German lecture here in Germany, in Berlin. And it came that 1 year ago you came across with that Hezbollah initiative, and we, as you know, as Middle East Freedom Force, are working very closely and heavily on the issue of Hezbollah. And so he brought his whole team, and now I'm sorry that we will hold this lecture in English, but you can have at least some taste of his good German. He will surely demonstrate it to you in one clause, for sure. So I'm going to present Ambassador Prosor is the head of the Abba Iban Institute at the International Diplomacy at the Interdisciplinary Center in Herzliya. Yannick is the director of the Abba Iban Institute, and Mr. Daniel Cohen is the research director of that institute. And I'm really proud to have them here in Berlin tonight. Thank you for coming all, and I wish you a good lecture and a good discussion. So, Mr. Ambassador Prosor, the floor is yours.
Erstmals, meine Damen und Herren, bin ich sehr, sehr froh, hier in Berlin zu sein. Leider werde ich also diesen Vortrag in Englisch halten, weil es um politische Dinge sich handelt und ich möchte keine Fehler machen. Aber bei mir ist die israelische-deutsche Beziehung wirklich, es liegt mir sehr, sehr nah am Herzen. Ich weiß nicht, ob Sie es wissen, aber meine ersten Posten war in Bonn-Bad Godesberg, die ehemalige Hauptstadt, von 88 bis 92. Und als die Mauer gefallen ist, war ich unter Anführungszeichen für die 5 neuen Bundesländer zuständig. Also diese Beziehungen sind wirklich sehr, sehr wichtig für mich. Und heute werde ich natürlich über den Nahen Osten sprechen und dann direkt zum Hezbollah. So I'll move over to English. I see that you're nodding with your head, and rightly so. But what is happening now in the region is absolutely amazing, and we should not take it as something which is obvious. Because, first of all, I want to use this platform to thank Iran and the Foreign Minister Zarif and Rouhani, because what they have done single-handedly to bring Israel and the Sunni countries together, no one ever did before. In essence, suddenly our relationship with the Sunnite Arab world is in a completely different level. Why? Because they feel, in general, that the rope is tightening around their necks because of Iran. Suddenly Israel is part of the solution, not part of the problem. And I begin with Iran because we, at the Abba Eban Institute, look at the world, and when we look at trends, we also look at terror activities around the world. And when you look at the Iranian regime is absolutely smart, sophisticated, and works with proxies all over the Middle East. Just to give you a glimpse, I don't know how many people know that there are no diplomatic ties between Morocco and Iran. You know. Yes. Why? Because they undermined, inside Morocco under Muhammad VI, and he basically said, what? Raus. And the issue here is when you look at Iran, and you look at Hezbollah as a proxy, this is an industry. And they are working all over the world, and when I say Hezbollah as an organization, I'm looking at it, and we in Israel, for many, many years, thought that Hezbollah was first and foremost, in Vordergrund, a Lebanese organization. That they have Lebanese interests, is number one. Nasrallah looked all over and said, I am the model for the young Arab world. I need an army of my own, completely away from the Lebanese army, because I need to protect Lebanon from who? From Israel. Suddenly, when things begin to happen in Syria, the master in Tehran phones Hassan Nasrallah and says to him, Dear Hassan, you cannot be sitting on the fence here. We need you to fight in Syria. Now, Hassan Nasrallah is a smart cookie. He knows that there are going to be repercussions inside Lebanon for what he's doing. But he still, because we paid him the Iranians, we gave him missiles, and suddenly Nasrallah is using his independent army that is supposed to protect Lebanon to kill Sunnites in Syria. There are going to be repercussions, and suddenly his position, but what did we learn from this? That the influence of Iran on Hezbollah is much greater than we analyze, and in a second I'll give you also the substantiation when you see those elements taking place. Now, as I told you, when I told you Hezbollah is an industry, and what they're doing in Europe is part of the business development, like in every company. And they're doing business development, and for you to understand when I talk about an industry, this organization is, by Forbes, has $1.1 billion of revenues that they're running, by Forbes. Out of this, approximately 700 million come from Iran. Lately, there's a bit of pressure on Iran. So less comes from that direction, and what they're doing in Europe is basically finance. They are making sure with money laundering, with drug trafficking, with charities, that they're organizing for themselves good stuff, in parentheses. So here is Hezbollah, in the sense which has a firing power. And listen to this, I hope that you're all sitting down, of 130,000 missiles and rockets, with precision guidance that they acquired with the Iranians, all sitting. And why am I coming to you in Europe? Because you in Europe today have the opportunity to basically make a difference. How do you make a difference? Is by preventing a war which is inevitable if this continues this way. Because the basically making the differentiation between the political arm and the military arm is absolutely artificial. Hassan Nasrallah doesn't see it. No one else sees it. All, in its entirety, the United States, the Arab League, the Council of the Gulf States, and in Europe also only the Netherlands basically designate all of Hezbollah. What is the example of making this differentiation? It's all about perceptions. Do you know the story of this guy in Berlin who always came to the pub to drink a glass of schnapps? One day he comes to the pub and says, "Today I would like 2 glasses of schnapps." The waiter says, "Why?" He says, "My friend is in jail, went to jail today, and I'm drinking a glass in his memory." For the next 3 years, he asked for 2 glasses of schnapps and drank them. After 3 years, he comes and says, "Today, very happily, I would also like only 1 glass of schnapps." The waiter says, "Congratulations, I understand that your friend is out of jail." He says, "I stopped drinking." So the differentiation is absolutely idiotic. And what is happening today on German soil is that Hezbollah is using and abusing Germany. Leave the region aside by exactly doing what I just told you. And of course, part of the argumentation here in Germany of not designating Hezbollah is saying the following. 1, if we designate the political arm, this will have repercussions on the bilateral relations, on the trade relations, on the aid towards Lebanon. And in a second, I will show you that that is not the case, but maybe the opposite. The second argumentation is that if we do not talk with Hezbollah, we designate, what is going to happen is that it will cause instability in Lebanon. And the third, if we designate the political arm, Hezbollah is going to do military activities against us in Europe and against UN forces. And my answer to that is no, 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 no on all categories. Why? On the trade and bilateral issue, when the Netherlands designated the entirety of Hezbollah, on the first 2 years there was a decline. From then, surging. Bilateral trade, amazing. Daniel here is going to present to you the facts. On the issue of Hezbollah helping stability in Lebanon, ladies and gentlemen, really? Hezbollah, stability in Lebanon? Murdering Khalili in 2005, stability. 2008, taking out the Dahya in Beirut, under their control, stability. Going out and killing Syrians in Syria, Alawites, stability. And now in the demonstrations, as we speak, the Lebanese army is protecting the demonstrators from Hezbollah. This is an orientation, stability. Now forces of doing acts of terror. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to say to you something. Hezbollah is an organization that treats everyone the same. As a terror organization, they are open-minded. They conduct terror all over. They're not just looking at one. For example, on Europe, in European soil. In 2015, 3 metric tons of ammonia nitrate was found in 3 different places in London. I know that London is now going out of Europe, but it was still part of Europe. Okay? Burgas, I think it's somewhere in Europe.
Bulgaria.
Of course, yes. And you can go on and basically see that this agreement and the UN, UNIFIL forces, Hezbollah is going after UNIFIL forces, and not specifically under a force or two. So in the sense, this argumentation does not hold. And when I look at the whole region, ladies and gentlemen, this has to be fought as an industry. The only way you can fight it is with an industry. And we have to be really on those issues for Germany, for German citizens. This is important. And I'm saying, you know, what can Europe do in this situation? You know, Europe can really help prevent the next war in Lebanon, which is inevitable. It's going to happen if no one does anything. It's, you know, a trend that will continue. And in a sense, I am here to tell you that when I look at our region and I see the Iranians, and I see how the Iranians operate in a very sophisticated way, crossing every pink line. Before you say it, Jack Robinson, they cross the red line. Very sophisticated. And they've done it for years. The Iranians, if you look, I'll give you an example. The last situation, they shot an American drone. No response. Next move, they hit an oil tanker. No response. The next move, they shot missiles on Saudi Arabia. They look, they listen. The next move, believe me, is going to escalate. So, in the sense you have here, Iran that basically gives orders to proxies in a very sophisticated way that create instability in this region. And we all have to be able to understand the lingo and to understand what's happening around us. And I'm here a bit to translate for you what's happening in the region. By the way, if you like a translator, then I want to tell you the following story. There was this guy, that American, that stole $1 million in Russia. And they brought him to the KGB, and he doesn't speak Russian. So KGB told the translator, tell him if he doesn't tell us where the $1 million are, we'll break his bones. The translator tells him, if you don't tell them where, they will break your bones. He says, I don't care. They hit him, he's all hurt, bloody. They bring him again to the KGB. The KGB says to him, if you don't tell us where the $1 million are, we're going to shoot you in the head. The translator translates to him, if you don't tell them where the $1 million is, they're going to shoot you in the head. He says to the translator, the $1 million are in a safe on the third room on the right. The translator translates, he says he doesn't care. So the translation to what's happening in our region is that in all the turmoil that you see, we now also have an opportunity. We have an opportunity to really push the extreme elements. And Hezbollah is a wide terror organization that works all over the world. It doesn't really make a difference where they really act in order to receive the financial aid. And here they're getting oxygen. Oxygen in Europe to continue the work that they're doing. And in today's world, when you look at Saudi Arabia, when you look at Mohammed bin Salman, when you look at the changes inside the society that are taking place before our eyes, and you see a bit of changes with the young generation in the Arab world, ladies and gentlemen, today is the time to really look and counter those challenges that terror organizations basically create for us because they don't have boundaries. And they use, you know, everything that we have today, from social networks to getting people, and this is an industry. And we have to be able to work together to really stop this. So, thank you. I'm going to pass the microphone to Daniel, who did a research for 2.5 years to basically connect the dots for you of how this organization works and operates in the region. And you'll be surprised at the connections that are there that have a serious influence on everything that we do. Please,
Hi, good evening. So I'm Daniel, I'm heading the research at the Art Institute, a think tank from IDC Herzliya, the first private university in Israel, actually. Now I'm going to present you how I see the activity of Hezbollah in Germany, particularly, but also in Europe in general. But we will start it with some examples also from the region in the Middle East to understand this phenomenon. Very, very unique one. I will start with an example from that was just revealed actually. Regarding a Hezbollah plot, but actually more Iranian plot of Al-Quds forces in Albania in 2018, with a lot of similarities to an event that was fought the year before that in Paris that involved Iranian diplomats and was mainly against the opposition of the Iranian opposition organization like Mujahideen Khalek. Now, if in Paris it was the Ministry of Intelligence of Iran, in this case it was the Quds forces, but what was very interesting is it was a plot to bomb a conference of the opposition using criminal entities domestically to do so. And this is where we see the threat that we believe can happen in places like Germany. And it all has to do with a combination of a nexus of narco and terrorism. This is what I will focus today. First of all, let's start to continue the talk of the ambassador about the Iranians and their connection to Hezbollah. And I will start with a video. I'll explain it later on. Let's do it first, if it will work. Good enough from here. Maybe let's go back. Okay, first video is from demonstrations in Iraq. This is on Friday. Doesn't work, right? Because it's on mode. Okay, never mind, let's skip the videos. Let's go back.
Do you have that on YouTube? What?
You have a way to show it? Let's start with this. Okay, this is a video from Iraq. It's like a Soleimani on the left corner. It's the head of the Quds forces, part of the Revolutionary Guard. Now, the Quds force is interesting. The name is the Jerusalem Force of Revolutionary Guard, aiming against Jerusalem. But we see the last trends of the Quds forces is expanding with the forces in Yemen, expanding with Shia militias in Iraq. Most of recruitments have come from Stan states, where the Shia community there. And here we see the protests in Iran from Friday, and this is what they think about Qasem Soleimani. And why do they think so? We're going to take another video, and then we can put aside the logistical side of the videos. let's go back to the card.
Iraq, sorry. It's in Iraq.
This is in Iraq, yes. Let's see a video from Lebanon now. Yes, that's it, this one. So explain exactly what it's doing. What they say that we are funding the demonstration, what we're doing now on the streets of Beirut and other places around Lebanon. And this is a campaign of people from all of the ethical backgrounds in Lebanon, of the diversities of the region. And what they're saying is Nasrallah. You said a day before the day started this campaign, you said that there are foreign entities that are behind pulling the string of and fueling the streets of Lebanon, the protest. And what we say, we are funding this protest, it has nothing to do with foreign entities. And we actually, the subtext of it, or the underline of it, is we don't want Al-Quds forces, Iranian involvement in Lebanon, and of course, as a video that we saw before in Iraq. Okay, let's go back to the presentation mode. Okay. Al-Quds march in Berlin, London, everybody I think is familiar with that. It is like a nice way to show the differentiation in Europe between the political and military wing of Hezbollah. What he says is this flag is to show my support to the political wing of Hezbollah. This of course is legit, no problem with that. And when we read the reports of the Fafazin troops or the protection of the constitution, we understand that there are operatives of Hezbollah around Germany that they are activate in some ways. We will argue that they are activate in different ways from what we see above the grid. And to understand that, we need to understand the structure of Hezbollah leadership. So you see up on the left slide, you see Hassan Nasrallah, of course, the Secretary General of Hezbollah. He runs 5 councils. The most main councils to the argument of political and military wing of Hezbollah would be left side, political wing of Hezbollah. For example, the political wing of Hezbollah has a department called the Foreign Relations Department of Hezbollah that are in charge of communication with Shia diaspora around the world. For example, if there's a religious center in somewhere in North Rhine-Westphalia, someone from the FRD, the Foreign Relations Department, will be in charge of donations that will go back to Lebanon. And of course, politicians, part of the government in Lebanon, at least for now, part of the coalition, but it probably will, maybe it will change a bit. And on the right side, we see the Jihad Council. Now, the Jihad Council is where we see the guys that were fighting in Syria, from the military wing of Hezbollah. It's actually, you can call it a militia, but it's an army as any other army around the world. There is a part that it's called the ESO, the External Operations Department of Hezbollah, that they are in charge of espionage, of plots of terrorism, and so on. And what I marked is guys that have nothing to do with the political or the military wing of Hezbollah. Some of them are businessmen that operate from Europe, some of them are weapon dealers, some of them will be like local gangsters related to criminal activity in Germany, in France, in Belgium, Italy. This is the main hubs of them. And there are people like Ali Fayyad, for example, that you see there. He's a Lebanese Ukrainian passport. He was arrested in 2014 in Prague in a hotel by DEA agents that were posing to be like, it was like a sting operation. Posing to be like the FARC cartel from Colombia, trying to buy from him weapons. He was caught, and now he's actually in Beirut, because the check after they arrested him, Hezbollah kidnapped 5 people in Beirut, and then there was exchange between them before the extortion back to USA for charge. So he's now free back in Beirut, and he's an example of a weapon dealer related to Hezbollah. Right corner you see General Qasem Soleimani, the head of Al-Quds forces, as I mentioned before, and he actually is the one that wants to show is all that has to do with Iraqi Shia militias that we hear about them a lot recently. But the interesting guys that are on the bottom picture Those guys, you can see them on Man Air way to Tehran. They were on the route between Beirut and Tehran for a dozen times, receiving training from the Quds forces. They are Hezbollah operatives. They also received military training by Hezbollah. Those guys come from South Lebanon, and they were killed after they were trying to run an operation with drones with explosives from the border between Syria and Israel. And
So, ladies and gentlemen, what Daniel is basically telling you, he's telling you that artificial differentiation between the political wing and military wing is not there. We basically, in research, open sources for 2.5 years, he caught them with a hand in the cookie jar, connected directly to the military people, and the people that he's telling you, he sleeps, he wakes up in the night, knowing all those names that I myself already forgot.
Baby,
What? The babies, yes. But in the sense, this is the connecting the dots that took 2.5 years of research at the institute that Daniel is leading in order to basically tell you, guys, there's no ifs or thens here. The connection is clear. And I know the names for you are tough, but this is what he does. That's why he gets the only annual bonuses at the end of it.
You get in the,
We didn't know that.
in a month from now. Okay, this is a case.
Delete that.
This is a case study that shows the nexus between narco-terrorism and Hezbollah in Germany. Back in 2015, there were a couple of arrests in the Netherlands, in the USA. What happened afterwards? Someone, a businessman from Beirut, took a flight to Paris. He was arrested, was picked up at the airport by local police in a joint operation between the DEA, the Europol and Eurojust. And because he was arrested, it happened to be that there were 15 other people that were arrested, 4 of them in Germany, a couple of them in France, in Belgium and in Italy. All of the people that were arrested were part of cells that dealt with money laundering of money that came from cocaine. The 20 to 25% of it went through to Hezbollah back in Lebanon. For example, this guy, Tarabulsi from Düsseldorf, ran a used cars garage back in Düsseldorf. One of his relatives is a guy that was arrested in Paris, that has also a cryptocurrency company. So this is already smells like a bit fishy. And you can see him here in Benin, in Africa, and in Dubai, in the Gulf states, selling luxury cars, Maybach to Land Cruiser. And now these guys were operating. Well, the German authorities that revealed that said that only the sale in Germany, 4 people, sold in 2 years goods worth 75 million euros, mainly from selling used cars, luxury cars, jewelry and luxury watches. And they sold it in a very sophisticated system that started in Germany, where they bought all of this luxury by money that came from cocaine sales for cartels in South America. Sold it in Gulf states mainly, but also in Lebanon. And again, as I said before, a big chunk of the money went to Hezbollah to buy weapons or to pay salaries to people from employees in the organization. Now, this is an example of the activity in Germany. It doesn't mean that the guy that we see in the picture is a Hezbollah operative that tomorrow morning will blow something because he's a terrorist. He's actually more related to crime activity, working for significant members of Hezbollah, like his relatives that came from Paris. That is actually working for the guy that you see in the picture, Adam Tabaja, that is exactly the example of someone that from one hand is a politician back in Lebanon, is also a businessman, but is also involved in coordination, terrorist attacks, acquisition of weapons, training of Shia militias in Iraq, for Hezbollah in the side of the military wing. So he represents exactly the military wing and the political wing in one person. Now, we started to go into the rabbit hole, mainly by doing it on social media to understand the activity in Germany. We did it by using technological capabilities.
and we started to work on this VLA that started to reveal a lot of interesting stuff that is going on in social media here in Germany. Guys from Berlin, from Dortmund, from crime families, from one side of it holding Kalashnikov, from the other side of it supporting Hezbollah publicly, and on the third side of it dealing with drug activity and money laundering. We have a lot of examples of that. A lot of the businesses in the used cars industry, and a lot of family members took part in the fights in Syria, so this is also interesting. And a lot of them are also taking part of like the global ties of Hezbollah, of what we consider as the routes, exactly the same routes of maps of connectivity that connect of routes of drug trafficking. Pretty much the same, and a lot of it is happening here in Germany because here it's easy to deal with cash. I heard that there was a reform 2 years ago. You can't like buy a house by cash, but you can still buy a car. Am I wrong? So it's easy to deal with cash here. It makes them easier to do what they are doing. Now this is a structure that you can say from one side, okay, they buy weapons for it and they fight maybe Israel, or maybe fight opposition in Syria by doing so. But on the other side you can say, same structure can be used also for potentially for terror attacks here in Germany or in other parts of Europe. So we can look at it in a more holistic way when you speak about narco-terrorism. And exactly the example of Albania is that, meaning Al-Quds forces, Qassam Soleimani gives an order to Hezbollah operatives, now we need you because a lot of geopolitical issues, negotiations on the nuclear camp, we want to question the Europeans, gives a call to Hezbollah. Hezbollah will use exactly this structure that today is using it for money laundering, for its own acquisition of weapons, can be used also as a system to its terror attacks. So this is completely different from the ISIS structure, for example. It's not about recruitment, spontaneous terror attacks. This is a much more organized, and the structure is already there, but for now it's dealing with other things. Now, to go back to the picture, we did another research, as Ambassador Prosor mentioned. We wanted to see what is a solution, what can be the response. We believe that the response to fight this activity, if the professor would say that there are 1,050 Hezbollah operatives operating for Germany, we say, okay, we agree the number sounds reasonable, but we think there's potential for a lot more because of activity like criminal activity dealing with drug trafficking. And the way to do so, to fight it, to provide tools to law enforcement here in Germany, is to ban Hezbollah completely in the EU level, but also in Germany. It's not enough to do it in Germany because it can still operate from Belgium, France, Italy, and so on. We know that the Netherlands already banned it in 2004. The Brits did it in February this year, a complete ban of Hezbollah. So we believe that this is a way to do so. But then there are arguments, if we will do so. For example, there are a lot of refugees back in Lebanon. We want to support them with humanitarian aid. We want to assist the stabilization of the regional issues in the Middle East by ODA, by development assistance to Lebanon. We want to have bilateral ties with the Lebanese government. Hezbollah is part of the government. So we checked it. This is a quantitative research, academic standard, that started to check it. We took all of the countries that designated Hezbollah for 20 years, and we wanted to see the phenomenon. This is, for example, is all of the ODA, humanitarian aid to Lebanon, by each designated country. Here is a partial designation, not necessarily the full designation. I know it's a lot of graph, like a lot of information here, so let's see a specific case study. And this is the EU ODA, humanitarian aid to Lebanon, between 1997 and 2017. Now you see the red dot back in 2013, the EU designated the military wing of Hezbollah. We wanted to check if it has any effect on the ability to assist and have a dialogue with the people of Lebanon. And our research shows that there's not such an effect, and you can still provide any humanitarian aid. You see two anomalies. You see the first one after the second Lebanese war with Israel, when the countries that designated Hezbollah supported Lebanon to the reconstruction of it. And we see it again when the refugee crisis started back in 2013. No problem to assist in any way with humanitarian aid to Lebanon from each country. When we look on the economical ties, for example, as Ambassador Prosor mentioned, like 1 year, then it jumps back again for each country. Now, of course, there's inflation, there's a lot of factors that deal with the increase of the numbers of export-import, but we can say for sure that there's no decrease by time. And for us, it's a huge argument to say regarding the economical factor. Diplomatic ties continued for each country, check texts, bilateral agreements between countries continued even after the designation of Hezbollah. And to sum it up, we believe that there was no such an effect, and this is actually the main argument, for example, of the German Foreign Ministry, why not to designate Hezbollah. And we believe this kind of argument, we can prove it by research, by quantitative research, that shows exactly the opposite. So you can read here part of our insights from this research. We're probably going to publish it next year, in the beginning of next year, and then you can read the full report regarding it. But the facts, I believe, are already here. And by saying that, this is my part of the presentation, and I think the floor is yours again, or for Q&A.
Thank you very much. Thank you to both of you for this detailed presentation of how the narco money laundering business of Hezbollah is starting in Southern America, going up to Africa, and with the money laundering schemes in Germany, used cars, you heard, money is generated for Hezbollah and is going to terrorist causes here with cover-up economy in Germany on German soil. So thank you so much for this. I'm ready to take your questions. If you're going to take the mic for the people who's going to want some questions.
Very impressive talk, thank you very much. What makes it so difficult to get the Europeans convinced of your view on Hezbollah? Why is Germany and Europe in general, I guess, so reluctant to buy into your view?
So first of all, you know that anything that you have to deal with the European Union takes time and is difficult. But what is interesting lately is there's a certain trend that takes place. Suddenly, there's designations by the United Kingdom, the designations by Argentina, Paraguay. Suddenly, you see more and more countries around the world understanding that one has to really work together in order to do that. And in the European Union, I gave you the argumentation that they're using. And you can challenge me, but in essence, I ticked off all the relevant answers there. There's always this issue, that people say, it's important to have a dialogue. And I'm saying, especially on designating an organization like Hezbollah, you are giving your own people, the professionals, the tools in the toolbox to protect German citizens or European citizens, because they don't have the tools to do that. The minute it is not designated, and I don't have to tell you, rightly so in Germany, the Bundeskriminalamt and the Verfassungsschutz, there are walls between sharing information on those issues. You are allowing them, basically, to operate easier. Why is it not done on European law? Like I said, the Arab League, the Council on the Gulf states, all the region, in a sense, most of the world. But in Europe, there's this, obsession. Just think, here in Germany, kritischer Dialog. How long do you have a kritischer Dialog with Iran? The Iranians have, it's a joke. Kritischer Dialog, and the Iranians are nearly, having a nuclear, on the way for a nuclear weapon.
There was a question on the first row. Do you want to pass the mic on? Yes, you first.
Thank you so much for coming here and welcome back, Mr. Ambassador, and also Mr. Downey-Cole. Thank you for this impressive presentation. I've learned a lot, and I believe that it's also really important to not only lobby among members of the Bundestag to explain them what's going on, but also to the public, because I think we would be in a very different situation if people would think about Hezbollah and Iran the way they think about ISIS, right? And very little is known, and people tend to forget very quickly about terrible things that happened. We remember the Mykonos attentat that was in Berlin, not that long ago, and no one remembers. And also we know about Hezbollah, so thank you very much for also reminding me the public. And what I'm interested in is maybe to you and also to Mr. Downey-Cole, and what's your experiences with the Netherlands after the designation of the whole entity as a terrorist organization? Do you see maybe research or intelligence information, less money flow, less support, less, I don't know, operatives in the Netherlands, or, yeah?
No, so the Netherlands is a good example because we checked it, and you saw the graph. Basically, trade, and we had, it's interesting from a research point of view to know how we did it. We basically said, okay, how do you measure the bilateral relations? So we went with economic missions, visits, you know, stuff that goes also on the trade issues, and the graph went up. Did Hezbollah target especially targets in the Netherlands? The answer is no. Did they go, excuse me?
My question was, the support for the Hezbollah, or money flows from Hezbollah, from the Netherlands to Hezbollah, did you see any major changes in that since the designation?
This I have to, yes.
We see it, and we mainly see it in narco-terrorism. Even the example that I provided before, there were 4 cells in Italy, in France, in Belgium, and in Germany. There was no cell back in the Netherlands. So this is an example of the narco-terrorism side of it. I can't give a good answer regarding ports, for example, if there's more in Rotterdam, Hamburg, or Antwerpen. But from our understanding, most of it is actually in Hamburg and in Antwerpen and less in Rotterdam regarding this route of Hezbollah drug trafficking and money laundering. On the terror activity side, the answer would be we didn't see that also since Mykonos here in Germany, so I can't tell you something about that. We did see it in the UK back in 2015. Back then the UK only designated the ESO part of Hezbollah. 4 years after the designated Polish Hezbollah this year. So we do see activity on the terror side that we can relate to Hezbollah. We didn't see it in the Netherlands. The potential is in the places where it isn't designated, like in here and in France and other places.
But I want to say that you're absolutely right. On the public domain, on the media, we have to basically bring this out away from just the closed corridors of the Bundestag and the different Ausschüsse.
Okay, there was a question here, then the next one is here, and then you.
Ambassador, hello, thank you for being here. I'm Italian and I have a very correct question. I would like to know of the 3 reasons you mentioned, trade repercussion, instability, and the security, which is the one that you buy the less? I'm asking you this because, as a matter of fact, it has been observed that in Italy, my country, during the 70s and the 80s, Palestinians, different factions were pretty much given safe haven as long as they didn't kill Italians. Some Jews were killed, but Italians didn't care too much. But do you not fear, I don't know, I mean, I will ask this is a correct question, do you not fear that basically Germany fears the same, that then it's complicated if you have such a strong presence of Hezbollah and then you outlaw them out of the blue? What Germany should do then, kick them all out? Could it get dangerous? Because this is a country that already has a couple of emergencies in terms of, radicalism, political and religious. So I'm asking you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Look, it's much. Nothing is easy on this issue, but you have to look at it as really as an industry. And I jokingly told you that they're doing the business development side in an open way. Now, when you designate it, what you are allowing your people, your professionals, and to really go after them. For example, you can't do anything on the legal side without proof. It's obvious, right? So what you do the minute you are able to go into and use some of the tools to enter the privacy part with emails and other stuff, and you have the tools today. You're working against them with two hands behind your back. And the issue of conducting a dialogue, there's also, you're doing it anyhow with Hamas under designation, you need to remind me?
EP 931.
See, he's a lawyer. EP 931.
European Common Position. EU Common
Yes,
Position.
European Common Position. So you are able to conduct this dialogue. So, in a sense, you have a way to do that and still now you don't kick them all across. How can you? You know, this is a democratic country. People abuse your democratic country for other issues. You go, you know, in charities, Waisenkinder, so you go and basically donate. Hildegard or Gertrude go and donate to a Waisenkinder, and they find out that this is buying weapons in Lebanon. So what I'm saying is there's a lot that one can do under these premises, and like I said, you asked me to prioritize, they all connect. So when you talk about security, if you don't have internal security, you won't have external security on your borders. Yes?
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. A question here. Would you be so kind, when you ask a question, to put your name first?
Good evening, Mr. Ambassador. My name is Stefan Fichtner. I'm one of those guys working in the Bundestag and a policy advisor. It was very, very enlightening what you just said. To be absolutely honest, you're preaching to a converted, but thank you. I'll make that short. We had the case of the clan chef Miri. He was deported a few
I
months
saw that now, you know, he wants to come back and
Yeah,
see and all
and
this.
his argumentation is he came back illegal to Germany. Strangely enough, he somehow made his way through Turkey and Syria. And his argumentation is that he's not only it was part of a gang war here in Germany where the Hezbollah was somehow involved, but he's seeking asylum because he needs protection because back in Lebanon he was he had to deal with
Threats from Hezbollah.
yes, that's from
He's
Hezbollah.
saying so.
So how realistic is that scenario he's going?
Just a second. I would say in general, es scheint die Geschichten aus Tausend eine Nacht. But I, as an Israeli, always say that I don't like others messing in my internal affairs, so I'm not going to mess in your internal affairs on this Miri guy. But Daniel, please.
Is it realistic? Of course it's realistic, his argument regarding that. As I mentioned, narco-terrorism has all to do with Hezbollah, especially here in Germany, also in the parameters of other countries surrounding. And yes, if this guy is like messing around back in Lebanon with you can call it like a gunfight, but here we're talking about what is nicknamed a hybrid organization that from one side deals with social warfare back in Lebanon, but from the other side this is narco-terrorism. And this exactly is the example that shows us how it really works when we speak about Hezbollah. And we can't like neglect it and put it aside. We need to consider Hezbollah as a significant actor in narco-terrorism cases, mainly in cocaine. We know that heroin comes from the Taliban, not from them, but Hezbollah, yes, is a supplier. When you see Narcos, you see Pablo Escobar back in Colombia, we have a missing partner who is distributing these drugs via Africa to Europe and to the United States. We didn't see it in Narcos, but it's Hezbollah. They're well located there, they're well located in Lebanon, also in Europe, and they have the ability to do so. And this can explain why they didn't exactly like someone from America visiting them back in the UK. Now, yes, before the next question, I have one question I won't forget. Regarding also this question, there's a documentary and also a website with tons of information regarding the nexus between non-counterterrorism and the Hezbollah case. It's under an international platform of experts that share information. It's called the Janos Initiative. So look for the Janos Initiative on Google. You will find there a documentary, only 14 minutes, mainly on the activity of Hezbollah in Germany and in Europe. So there's a lot of information there, so I recommend you to go and visit the site.
Die Website Janus-Initiative, können Sie googeln, gibt es viele Filme auch auf Deutsch.
Wie heißt die? Können Sie es nochmal
In der
wiederholen?
Deutschen
Wie heißt die?
Janus-Initiative, Janus wie der Doppelköpfige. Der Herr hier, dann dieser Herr und dann third person you.
Red shirt.
Would you ask your question, please, and tell your name and organization?
I'm Mr. Bonta from Berlin and journalist. Thank you, Mr.
Prosor.
Thank you.
Yes.
So I didn't understand really, Mr. Daniel, your name. Please.
Those are the Cohen brothers. Cohen brothers. Yes. Daniel Cohen, Yannick Cohen.
Daniel Cohen. So, I didn't know much a lot about the terrorism, the tried terroristic attack in London in 2015, but Miss Google knew it and said it to me, and I wanted to know more when I didn't use Google before. So
Everything I'm telling you is rock solid. I can't tell you how they made the ammonium nitrate,
yes,
metric tons, this I don't know, but maybe professionally I will be able in the future to tell you. Otherwise, in London, three different places, 2015.
Okay.
So what is the question?
no,
It's,
that's
you Googled it and you found that it's true, huh?
of course.
Okay, thank you so much. There was the next question, and then you, and then you.
Hello, Mr. Ambassador. My name is Kuya Bahrami from Iran, and I'm a victim for Iranian regime violence and corruption. And I'm a refugee in Berlin, former journalist. And my question on you is, in your opinion, what's the role of a nuclear deal with Iran in this situation?
First of all, thank you for the question. You know, when you look at Iran, okay, and who is the best for you to know, when they made the deal with Iran, okay, the deal with Iran, in essence, is a very bad deal. Why am I saying this? I want to take you into who controls Iran today. Iran stands on 4 legs. One leg is the revolutionary guards. The second leg is the parliament, the majlis. The third leg is the judiciary. And the fourth leg is the government. Only one leg out of the 4 are controlled by Rouhani and Zarif. All the other legs are controlled by the religious leader, who is not exactly Mama Teresa. Okay? So I'm bringing you back to memory. When they did the deal, they said, aha, we will open up. If we will open up, money is going to go to the so-called pragmatic elements inside Iran. I never use moderate elements in the Middle East at all. So this erase from your vocabulary. But the more pragmatic. They also told us in the majlis they're going to vote and bring in people that are more normal. No, 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 no. So in the sense, Nothing happens there. And on the deal, there are three elements in the deal. One, it basically says, which is a sunset clause. I won't bore you, but this was the things that I dealt with when I was in Washington. Now I'm beginning to tell you stories again. When I was in Washington, 98 to 2000, this was my brief, okay? I dealt with two amazing Jeffersonian democracies, Iran and North Korea, okay? And already then, basically, the sunset clause means that in 10 years, the Iranians can do anything they want. And it's absolutely legitimate, okay? Now, on missiles, what did they do? The Iranians are amazing negotiators. By the way, there was a real threat. Why in the negotiations? No, I won't say it. That, you know, they were joking. They thought, you know, it's a joke to negotiate with such a negotiation team. Because on missiles, they took a clause from the UN, which allows them to basically develop missiles. Okay? And now, on the issue of inspection, yes, the inspection, but there are places, sites that you cannot go. By coincidence, those are the important sites that you have to go to. Okay? So the combination of all this, it's basically an Ayatollah regime with delivery systems, and the icing on the cake is nuclear weapons. Are we completely crazy? And by the way, the whole region is basically looking at this and is frightful because of this regime and what it does in the region.
Regarding the question, why is it a political question? I would say yes. When you talk to the professionals, you hear many times, many in France, that the law enforcement side or the intelligence side will say, yes, we can link that to Hezbollah, but because of the negotiation with the Iranians, we didn't, it stopped our ability to press charges and collect evidence. And for you can check, for example, on Google, Politico, article from last year. It's called The Secret Back Story of How Obama Let Hezbollah Off the Hook. And this is an example of a task force called Cassandra Project, created by the DEA, integrated a lot of agencies that were dealing mainly with Hezbollah narco-terrorism cases, and a lot of the resources that went into this kind of operation was stopped because of the negotiation with the Iranians. Also, a bust of drug activity that was also related to Hezbollah, as examples that I showed before. A lot of the indictments that went further on didn't mention Hezbollah because of the negotiation with Iran. Many of the French were pressuring it, but Germany followed that many times.
You with the red pullover, please.
Hello. First of all, thank you very much for coming. My name is Oleg Witkowski. I'm from Moscow, but I live now in Berlin. I have two very short questions. So first question is, if I'm not mistaken, you were an ambassador of Israel to the United Kingdom, and now in a month there will be elections there where a leader of one of the party, Jeremy Corbyn, called Hezbollah and Hamas and famously his friends. So my first question is, do you think Israel is ready to work with the Labour government if they would win? And the second question is about, so people ask me about lobbying in German parliament, and my question is about lobbying in the Knesset. So again, correct me if I'm wrong, but we have a fraction in Knesset, joint list, who openly supports Hezbollah, and they made a statement supporting them. So, I don't know, have you talked to them, or how can you explain their open support? Have you talked to Ayman Day, I don't know, to Hani, to anybody? Do they know that Hezbollah have rockets, or maybe they have some other arguments? Thank you.
First of all, I think got touché on the issue of what's happening in Israel's diverse democratic system. As you know, we are very democratic. We're allowing the Israeli people to vote for the third time in 1 year, you know, which is a bit exaggerated. But coming back to your question, look, of course you have to, in every democratic country, there's basically checks and balances, and we in Israel again have challenges left and right. Okay, from if you're touching the issue all around us, because as you know, our neighborhood does not consist of Liechtenstein and Luxembourg. Now, first, thank you for reminding me, being Israel's ambassador to the Court of St. James, the Queen is still not recovered for my departure. She's moving her pen in an uncontrollable way, saying to Charles, not this year, Charles, not this year. But I would say that Israel would have to define the relationship with the cradle of democracy, the United Kingdom, and I want to remind you that when Waldheim was voted in Austria, Israel lowered its diplomatic status in Vienna. We are far away from that. We do hope that on the 12th of December, the British people will vote in the right direction. But to answer that, it's very, very clearly a real problem. That it's not just on that; it's also on anti-Semitic statements, which are very, very vocal. But thank you for reminding me of the Queen. Yes.
Okay, now in the third row, here, the lady, wait for the mic.
Hello, my name is Nitsa and I'm a member of the DIC.
Yes.
So I have two short questions. First of all, why the faces in the representation, so many faces are black and out?
I tell you, because the issue of privacy, we keep those faces covered because we don't want, for legal reasons, that those faces will be public. But believe me, there are real faces behind it. Okay?
Okay.
And real people, yes.
The second question is, do you believe that Hezbollah will attack Israel on behalf of Iran?
First of all, thank you for the question. And the answer is as follows. If you analyze it coldly, Hezbollah today does not have an interest to attack Israel because it knows what's going to happen. Israel does not have an interest to attack Hezbollah. Can this happen? The answer is yes. Why? Because, like I said, Hezbollah is not completely independent. The influence from Iran is very, very strong. Let's say the Iranians want to retaliate on something that is done towards Iran, either on the oil issue, either on different issues around the world, that Iran would want to retaliate against Israel. They have Hezbollah as a proxy, and like I said, the influence from Iran is very, very strong. I didn't have a chance to, elaborate, but in essence, not just the precision guidance, not just working the Revolutionary Guards and Qasem Soleimani running around in the region. No, you hear, because of divine intervention, different explosions taking place. Explosions are basically arms that are coming in all the time. So it's a complete network, okay? So can it happen? Absolutely, it can happen. And what I'm saying to you Europeans, don't afterwards say, now you can prevent it by doing something at home, okay? Because if we don't do anything, it's going to happen.
The first one.
Thank you very much. My name is Andreas Bindel. I'm from Middle Freedom Forum as well. I just want to add a short notice about the depth of the problem. because we are here in the University of Humboldt, and there's a treaty of cooperation between the university and the called Council of the Shiite Communities in Germany. And if you look at the persons who have signed this treaty here in the hall, and you go on their Facebook sites, you will find propaganda material about Hezbollah and about Qasem Soleimani.
First of all, thank you, but again, I come from a country and basically under the so-called academic freedom elements, a lot of things are happening, but we as, democratic countries have to find ways to live with it, but to define where those boundaries pass. And I want to call to your memory, to everyone in this room, you remember that when Israel began checking people at airports 20 odd years ago, what did people say? Intrusion of privacy, human rights, how can you do this? Fast forward, every airport today, why? Because democracies have to find ways to defend themselves. And the real question is, and what Israel is doing every day since its establishment, is the calibration. How do you defend your citizens on the one hand and not go overboard in your reaction? So what you see today is basically Western democracies beginning to encounter phenomena that we in Israel on the front line are encountering nearly every day. And there's always this calibration. And I'm very, very proud, by the way, very proud to represent a country that with all the problems around it, and yes, we make mistakes, we still are able to maintain such a vibrant democratic society. And look at us, after 72 years. Instead of oranges, we're exporting orange mobile phones. Instead of apples, we're designing Apple computers. We're exporting gluten-free pasta to Italy. There's a kibbutz in the north that exports caviar to Russia. We're sending satellites up into space that say shalom to very few other satellites. And by the way, we landed on the moon. The fact that we crash landed on the moon is a different story. But we landed. Okay? So in the sense, when you look at it, we go, wow. So thank you very, very much, and have an enjoyable evening.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the